Welcome to World Stories. I'm Sumi Somaskanda, and this is your International Reporters Magazine. On this edition, we'll find out how Spice Island is going green. We'll meet a man in Bahrain who's assembled his own personal museum. And soaring through the skies, we go paragliding in Bulgaria. All that and more. But first, we start in India, where the economy has been slowing down after enjoying booming growth for more than a decade. Up until last year, India was considered one of the world's most powerful emerging economies, and the atmosphere of growth spurred a new spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship. There are now several programs that support startups in India, and plenty of entrepreneurs are taking advantage. In our next story, Bipan Chandra of Emerging Stars TV takes us to what some call India's City of Dreams, Mumbai, where we get to know a company that's aiming to turn some of India's budding businessmen and women into global players. Here's more.
Mumbai, India. Many entrepreneurs started here and became successful, but many also failed. So entrepreneur Rishi Kiani, former CEO of many companies, including Times of India, began Ant Farm, a company that helps other companies start up and become successful.
So Ant Farm was born with the vision that it is possible to create a perfect company, a company where every person, every individual is empowered to actually add to the value to the company. And a lot of my learnings over the last couple of years, while I was the CEO of Times of India, when I was the CEO of Web 18, have kind of provided me with the experience to actually help people who don't have the experience today. And a lot of the pitfalls that when you're starting up, there are a lot of things that you don't look at. You don't look at how do I build this into a long-term sustainable business. You burn through a lot of venture capitalist money really quickly. So we come in at that stage. We teach entrepreneurs how to be more frugal. We teach you to bootstrap, and really only take money when you really need it. So we're working with fashion influencers, we're working with celebrities, we're working with all of your large fashion magazines today to create ranges and fashion clothing for them in tandem with our own stylists. It's never been done before. Some of the biggest pain points of any startup designer or any magazine or anyone is that they don't have the wherewithal or the knowledge to kind of go and work with a manufacturer or understand how it is to brand themselves. So we add all those values and all of those, the infrastructure and the marketing and the distribution at that time.
One of the first companies that Ant Farm assisted and created was Stylista, a fashion company that closely follows the famous and most popular Bollywood film industry. Stylista creates and designs the fashion for Bollywood stars and for those who'd like to be a star. So, for almost all the women in India.
So Stylista is more of a collaborative effort with stylists, with celebrities, with movie houses, with production houses, with magazines. So what we're trying to do something which is peak commerce, which is participatory commerce. We're trying to make sure that every consumer has a say in what they eventually wear. So if you look at this could probably be on a red carpet event, which a celebrity is probably wearing. And we're giving a consumer an opportunity to buy the look that she or he is actually wearing off a red carpet to a consumer's house. That looks beautiful and stunning dress.
For us, it's important that Ant Farm is an integral part of the companies we're starting. So we actually carry a fee for doing a lot of these services. At the same time, we own sizable equity in a lot of these businesses. So the equity could range from 30% upwards to about 60-70%. We partially exit a company during a Series A or a Series B follow-on investment.
Something like this is any designer's dream as well, because they can create their entire look. Here, at a click of a button, they can create their own styles, designs, and have it ready in a couple of days.
With Stylista, Ant Farm hopes it's creating its first business success. For this year, there are also 4 other companies or platforms in store: education, travel, life science, and IT. In his new office, Rishi Kiani hopes to find the right space and atmosphere. But 5 years from now, where will he and Ant Farm be?
5 years from now, I hope, we've moved from here to about 50 times the size of this. I hope we have a building where we have a whole bunch of entrepreneurs working for us. My vision is for Ant Farm to be a holding company for all of these great startups, great ideas, and where eventually we're a company that's very socially responsible. We're a company that has fostered entrepreneurship, that has driven innovation, and has kind of for the longest time, the perception of India has always been that it's the back office of the world, And for me, I want to change that perception. I want to say that India can be a space where innovation breathes, where we can actually create talent, we can create companies that can be global companies. And if I do that, even I do it with 4 or 5 companies, I would consider it a success, at least in my mission.
An ambitious vision indeed. Now, can a green economy lift people out of poverty? That question was a central theme at last year's UN climate conference in Brazil. Some believe that modern industrial agriculture is the way to help poor nations help themselves. But others think that sustainable development is the key to the future. In our next story, UN TV reporter Andrew Martin shows us one case in their favor. On Tanzania's island of Zanzibar, green agriculture has helped spice farmers make big gains.
Zanzibar, the spice island off the coast of East Africa, has long captured people's imaginations. With white sandy beaches and a fascinating history and culture, it's one of the most desirable holiday destinations in the world. But behind this facade lies a nation where almost half the population lives in poverty. For many years, the prescribed solution to end rural poverty was modern agriculture. But this has had little impact and has damaged fragile ecosystems. Now, spice farmers in Zanzibar are discovering a new way to escape poverty: organic agriculture. 20 miles from the capital city, Stone Town, spice plantations are in abundance. Farmer Mohammed Saleh grows cinnamon, turmeric, and lemons on his small holding.
Mazao yanakuwa vizuri.
The produce is growing better because the plants are attacked by fewer pests.
Hayathiriwi na wadudu.
The land is fertile now and the crops get better nourishment from the soil.
Na kama ardhi na rutuba na mimea inashiba, kwa hiyo
the produce I get now is much
mazao
better.
yanayopatikana yanakuwa mazuri zaidi.
Mohammed's farm is organic, free of chemical pesticides and fertilizers. He joined a certified organic cooperative affiliated with the Tanzania Organic Agricultural Movement, TOAM, in 2005. Mwatima Juma is the chairman of TOAM.
If you are cooperative, then you can negotiate the price, you can negotiate the volume, you can negotiate the crop you want to grow, and you can even be better off in terms of the quality control of what you are producing.
Farmers are encouraged to create new product lines for national and international markets, like this essential oil destined for Switzerland. By developing the marketing and packaging of spices locally, more profits stay in the country. Sophia Twarog of the UN Conference on Trade and Development.
Organic agriculture is a great opportunity for developing countries. There are booming markets, good prices, and the production system is based on locally available renewable resources. So organic agriculture is good for farmer income, it's good for rural development, for health, and for the environment.
Since 2004, more than 120,000 farmers have been certified as organic in Tanzania. The new farming method not only ensures that Zanzibar's spice farmers receive a better price for their crops, but also preserves the land for future generations.
Navuna zaidi kuliko watu wengine.
I'm harvesting more than my neighbors now, so they're coming over to organic farming too.
Building a green economy was one of the two major themes at the Rio +20 Earth Summit in Brazil last year. With organic agriculture, Zanzibar farmers have shown that they can prosper with a sustainable and innovative approach.
Next, we meet a man in Bahrain who has spent decades collecting antiques and other memorabilia of all shapes and sizes. Everything from valuable texts to random knickknacks. And he's gathered all those items right in his own home. In fact, he's turned his house into a museum, and his exhibit is still growing. In our next report, Mohammed Al-Arab from Al Arabiya TV introduces us to a man who's dedicated his life to the past. Take a look.
Saleh Al-Hassan loves this song. It's popular in Bahrain and in other Gulf states.
Those were the days.
There's an Arab saying that if you lose your past, you lose yourself. But most of us don't keep to it. We get rid of what we consider junk to make room for newer possessions. But sometimes those odds and ends can turn out to be treasures. Saleh Al-Hassan has collected antiques, coins, stamps, and documents for 40 years. His home is a treasure trove, overflowing with items, some 40,000 of them.
I spend a lot of time here. This place reminds me of times gone by.
The exhibits in Saleh Al-Hassan's museum are arranged according to quality. He bought them himself or exchanged them with other collectors. This section contains unique and unusual prayer beads.
In this corner are the misbahah, or strings of prayer beads, both ordinary and unusual. They're used in Bahrain, other Gulf states, and other countries. This one is made of agate. As you can see, no individual stone is like another. Here we have one made of very shiny stones from China. And this one is a lovely specimen.
This corner contains rare copies of the Quran. Some of them are written by hand and are unique. Handwritten scholarly manuscripts are also included in the collection.
I have a total of 200 Qurans and manuscripts. This one is from Bahrain.
And there are everyday objects that have additional significance because of their histories, or the fact that well-known people used them. This watch has an interesting history, and so does this gramophone.
This music was played on Bahraini state television. When older people hear it, it makes them happy. Every antique and every watch I've acquired has a story behind it. I got this watch in Bahrain. It's an Omega, a Swiss luxury brand. It was a gift from King Saud of Saudi Arabia to one of his guests. Whenever the king held a reception, he would distribute gifts like this to everyone who'd been invited. He used gestures like that to demonstrate his great generosity.
Saleh Al Hassan's hobby has developed into a more serious activity, especially where written documents are concerned.
In this folder, I've documented relations between India and Bahrain. There's correspondence here that's more than 100 years old. The oldest letter is dated from 1891, and it's from Queen Victoria.
Cameras, watches, toys, medals, and much more. All collector's items that adorn Saleh Al Hassan's museum. This section contains memorabilia connected with the Pan-Arabism as well as revolutionary speeches.
Like other teenagers in the 1960s, I was influenced by Gamal Abdel Nasser. I named my eldest son Abdel Nasser. All these objects related to my idol, the late President Nasser.
Saleh Al Hassan acquires things other people might deride as rubbish and knickknacks. He wants his museum to become one of Bahrain's official museums. And he'd also like to have more space to exhibit his enormous collection. Supporting yourself on a 100-year-old walking stick, calling your wife on a 50-year-old telephone, using a watch that's about 70 years old to tell the time, and listening to a popular song from yesteryear. That's the story of Saleh Al Hassan in a nutshell.
تلك هي باختصار قصة متحف العم صالح الحسن أبو عبد الناصر.
At the end of our journey into the past, Saleh Al Hassan has this to say about his hobby. He doesn't acquire junk, he collects antiques, because they're valuable, and because he fears they might otherwise be lost forever.
History come back to life. Now, we hope you're not scared of heights, because our next story involves a sport that isn't for the faint of heart. The small Bulgarian town of Sopot hosted a big international event this summer, the World Paragliding Championships. More than 150 people from around the world gathered to compete against each other and soar with the wind. Nova TV's Nikolai Vasilkovsky takes us along for a ride as we learn more about the thrill and adventure of paragliding.
In Sopot, it's all about gravity and wind currents. This small Bulgarian town is already famous as a paragliding center, almost as popular as Chamonix, the French resort where the sport was born in 1974. We climbed to some 1,374 meters above sea level. One of the main advantages of this space in Sopot is this lift. It's the longest chairlift on the Balkan Peninsula. A paraglider can be stowed in the backpack and unpacked in minutes. All 150 competitors know even minor oversights can be fatal. That's why one of the world's best, Brazilian Frank Brown, carefully gives the wing and seat a final check.
Especially in long competitions with dry air and warm, like here, to get hydrated, it's very, very important. This is our lifeguard. You get it and throw away. If something gets wrong.
The competitors have to fly a route with as few rest stops as possible. Minutes before they start, they set their navigational equipment.
I put the task inside with all weapons, so where are
Beginners fly with an instructor who operates the paraglider. When you're captured by air currents, the laws of aerodynamics take over. What everyone here looks for are the upward currents of hot air called thermals. With birds and clouds as landmarks, you can climb to 1,000 meters. The man who's most familiar with the weather and how to cope with it is Dennis Pagan from the U.S.
we never can control the weather. And we are finding that all over the world the weather is changing.
Paragliding is a relatively inexpensive sport. Bulgaria is home to hundreds of clubs where anyone can get lessons and experience. The equipment is light and costs between 1,500 and 2,000 euros. But the feeling you get from seeing the world from above for a few hours is absolutely priceless.
And finally today, we head to the Mexican city of Puebla, a place that's steeped in history. Puebla used to be one of the most important colonial cities in Mexico before gaining independence from Spain in the early 19th century. And that's where our next story begins. Puebla TV's Fernando Mendoza takes us back to an important battle in the city's history, where Puebla's illustrious churches took part in the fight. Here's more.
The Battle of Puebla in 1862, in which the Mexicans successfully defended their territory against the French, is still commemorated today. Recent archaeological research has revealed that the clergy and churches were involved in the defense. It's even said the cathedral had a tunnel directly linking it to Fuerte de Guadalupe, the fort in which General Ignacio Zaragoza's troops were stationed. But that wasn't the only connection. Other churches also took part in the struggle.
The reports of both Mexican and French armies mention that tunnels were dug. They provided mobility. The Mexicans were able to protect the city and prevent the French from advancing. But both sides dug tunnels, the French so they could lay mines to destroy important buildings in the city.
Eduardo Merlo, an archaeologist at the National Institute of Anthropology and History in Puebla, says a tunnel did actually exist, but between the hilltop forts of Loreto and Guadalupe.
There was a tunnel that connected the two forts. That's a logical military strategy. In Fuerte de Guadalupe, there's still a staircase and a tunnel entrance which is buried in rubble. There's no tunnel now, but it must have existed.
The current head of the Church of San Marcos, Father Ángel de Jesús Paz, says that the tunnel was in the Church of Guadalupe, where the Plaza Victoria now is, not far from the forts.
This was the storeroom of what had been the Temple of Guadalupe, built by the artisans who also built Puebla Cathedral, and which was destroyed on May 5, 1862, because the battle took place on this side, near the fort of Guadalupe.
Another temple where the battle took place was San Agustin, the third monastery founded in Puebla, after those of the Franciscans and Carmelites.
Nearby, several people had entrenched themselves in the Temple of San Marcos, and here in San Agustin as well. Possibly they were attacked with firearms and artillery. Here you see indications of these attacks, even larger ones from cannon.
The Church of Our Lady of the Remedies was another important place during the battle. It was the headquarters of Ignacio Zaragoza's Eastern Army, from which he beat back the French army's attacks, leading to the Mexican victory over the French in Puebla on May 5, 1862.
Well, on that dramatic note, we've come to the end of this edition of World Stories. We hope you enjoyed the show and that you'll join us again next week. Thanks so much for watching. And remember, you can always find us online at dw.de/worldstories. Now, here are this week's Picks of the World. See you next time.